All right, well, I retired in 2017, and what I do for a job now is to fill in my time is to do a report every day, reviewing all of the ASX resource project announcements for a readership of about 600 people, which proudly I can say includes all the major mining companies and most of the major funds around the world. Like to see what Austex has got to say every day about what's going on in the resources sector, because we focus in on the project. We're not focusing on the company, we're focusing on the project. So let's have a look. This is what the ASX resource sector has done share price on average share price over the last 2 years. You know, if you're from Victoria, say that's the big V. And it is. It went down, it's come up again. The question is, where is it going now under Trump politics? My guess it's going to go higher for a while and then maybe level out or come down. Usually we get some guidance from how the average share prices have moved within each commodity compared to the commodity price itself. But right now, there's no guidance. You know, over the last 12 months, the price of gold and silver have gone up 39% silver, 39% gold, 46% in Australian dollars, and ASX silver stocks have gone up 35.7%. We can look at manganese. The price of manganese ore has gone up 44%. Manganese stocks have got up 44%. Tin tungsten stocks up about 30%. The tin price up 18%. So they're doing well. Zinc prices have been up, lead prices are down, but zinc lead stocks have done very well. So they've been the ones that have really done well over the last 12 months. Now we come to the red ink. Iron ore prices have dropped 20%. The iron ore stocks are down 8%. Copper has gone up 16%, but sadly copper stocks have come down. That's a bit of an anomaly. Rare earth stocks are down 13% over the year, whereas the price of neodymium, which is the commodity that we monitor each week, has gone up 4.5%. Coming over this side, who's the star of the show? Natural gas. It's really rocketed, and over the last 12 months has gone up 65%. Oil, we measure Brent crude, is down 5%. Oil and gas stocks are down nearly 15%. Price of thermal coal is down 6.1%. Coal stocks are down 16.5%. Nickel, of course, has crashed out of the market with all of the cheap stuff that companies like ASX NIC are producing in Indonesia, producing nickel pig iron from laterites. They've actually flooded with a flood of Chinese market out of Sulawesi. A flood of Chinese money in Sulawesi. They're flooding the market with that. And it's pretty hard now for nickel sulfide projects to go ahead. As you've seen over the last 12 months, BHP have shut down Nickel West in Kalgoorlie. Platinum prices, though, have come up quite well, up about 11%. Uranium was the star of the show for a while, but it's come back a bit. The price is down 30%. Lithium, of course, has taken a headache as people finally work out that a lithium car is not quite a good investment. The price of lithium carbonate is down 90%. The lithium stocks have been hammered because they were the darling of a couple of years ago, down 36%. A couple of the stocks that have done very well are small groups. Bauxite, companies like Metro up on Cape York have done it brilliantly, and they're up 196% with good aluminium prices. And antimony, of course, there's been a lot of interest in antimony with all the tensions in the Middle East, and the antimony price has gone up. Antimony stocks are up 135%. Let's have a look now at the change in resource focus. So this is, we've got like about 800 odd ASX listed resource companies, and this is how they've changed their focus over the year. More, of course, moved into gold, which is the biggest sector. Of course, as you can expect, companies have moved out of lithium, they've moved into copper, they've moved out a little bit into oil and gas. A lot of people have run into rare earths. Uranium has been a big winner over the last year, and nickel, companies interested in nickel have tapered off. How much capital is raised? What we monitor at AUSTEX is what we call the Appendix 5B cash flow reports. They are submitted to the ASX by about 80% of ASX listed companies. Big companies, producers like BHP, Rio, etc. exempt, but all explorers have to fill in a cash flow report, and a lot of the early producers. We saw a record $3 billion raised back in the last quarter of 2021. Since then, it's been a real sawtooth, and it's averaged out pretty well. And in the last quarter of this last year, $2.2 billion was raised by exploration and junior minor companies on the ASX. How does that sawtooth effect come? Well, this is what happens. We'll actually come to it in a minute. Firstly, let's look at it in quantities. $100 million raisings for an exploration company without a cash flow. We're seeing them. We saw a lot of them in the second quarter, and about 800 million was raised by companies in licks more than 100 million. And in the last quarter, we saw 550 million. So we'll come to that in a little while. Also, quite big licks at 50 to 100 million. The average company is more raising down in this area, under about 10 million. So we're seeing a lot of companies being able to raise $10 million or so each time they go to the market. So let's have a look at what causes that sawtooth effect. If we split out the raisings above 10 million with the ones below 10 million, we saw the sawtooth affects the big raisings. So every second month, the market will fork out about anywhere between somewhere around $1.5 billion for big projects, for projects they really like. But this is what I like. Sub $10 million raising. So these are the raisings under $10 million. And the quarter, it's a flat line. We often hear people say there's no money around. That's the problem, is not the money, the problem is the project. There's $400 to $600 million available on the ASX resource market every quarter for companies in licks of less than $10 million. And that'll keep a company going very well. If we look at the big capital raisings over 2024, we saw $2.5 billion was raised in big raisings for 36 companies for gold. That was massive. As you all know, the gold price has gone up. There's been a massive amount of money going to companies like Spartan, De Grey, and others in the Western Australia that are emerging producers. 680 million's gone into emerging uranium companies like Paladin and Deep Yellow and others. Problem getting old, you forget things. A lot of money's been raised in big licks for rare earth companies, particularly for rare earth exploration in Brazil, less so in Western Australia. Lithium, people are still paying, raising big licks for lithium exploration and quite a bit for copper. There's a lot of confusion about what's a heavy mineral sands project and a rare earths project today. It's got monzonite in it. All of a sudden, it's moved from being what used to be a heavy mineral sands project to be a rare earth project. And even if it has nothing else but something like altered ilmenite, it'll still somehow be promoted as a rare earth project. So the capital raisings by commodity over 2024, quarter by quarter, massive amounts for gold. Got a gold project, the money's there, particularly if it's in Western Australia. Because nowadays you can get, even you only got 10,000 ounces in the ground, there's a mill nearby that will buy it. There's a cash flow available. We can't do it in Queensland because we only have gold deposits in licks up on the coastal ranges in the porphyries. We don't have much anywhere else, and we're not quite as endowed as they are in the Archean of Western Australia, where you can have a small deposit and you can get it into production. Lithium's gone right out of favour. Uranium, we got quite a big raisings in the first quarter and in the last quarter. In between was a bit tight. Rare earths, big raisings in the second and third quartile. If we move now to exploration expenditure, so what's been spent in total in exploration? If you look at the graph over the last 7 years, there was a quantum change in the COVID years to come up to over $1 billion spent in a quarter in 2022 on exploration. It's drifted down. You can see since 2020, Q2 22 to Q4 24, there's been a drop of about $200 million spent on exploration in Australia, and it's a pretty steady drop. We're seeing less money going into exploration. The quarterly range of exploration spent, we're seeing that there's a lot of money spent, a lot of exploration going on, more than 10 million a quarter, even 5 to 10, and it drifts away. So, you know, if you're spending about this much on exploration, you know, somewhere under $1 million a quarter, don't expect to find much. And we have a lot of those lifestyle companies around at the moment. But basically, to run an exploration program all year that you're really going to give yourself a chance of finding something, you're looking at spending somewhere between a minimum of $1 to $2 million every quarter. If we split the exploration spend like we did with the capital raisings in LICs of over 10 million and under 10 million, we see that the expenditures over, hang on there, I think they might be the wrong way around. Sorry, I've actually made an error there. Look at that, that's actually less than 10 million, that should be more. So the one up the top is the greater than $10 million of exploration a quarter. Since over 2024, you can see that has come down slightly. So we're not seeing as much big company exploration, but in smaller amounts of less than $10 million a quarter has come down quite considerably over the last year. So there is a reduction in exploration. If we look at the big greater than $10 million a quarter expenditures, we'd expect gold to be up there dominating, but it's not. It's oil and gas. We're spending, 6 companies spent a total of 190 million in oil and gas exploration in quarterly LICs of greater than 10 million. 6 lithium companies. There's still money going into lithium at this time. And gold was less than those other 2 commodities. So that was a bit of a surprise to me when I put these figures together. Total exploration expenditure by commodity. As we would expect, gold has dominated that. Lithium is still high despite the price. This oil and gas is less, and copper, rare earths, uranium, nickel has dropped away over the year because of the price, and along with the other commodities there. One of the things that is of concern is the fact that if we compare the exploration spend, average exploration spend, with staff and administration costs in companies, whereas if we go back to 2021, in each quarter, we would be spending $2 on exploration, two times exploration, twice as much on exploration as we would be spending on administration and staff put together. That has slowly eroded away the last quarter of last year, where we're only getting $1.31 on exploration as against $1 for administration and staff. This is the cost of compliance. This is the black laws, the green laws, the red laws. Kate over there knows all about them. All these crap that we have to go on with these days with regulators, and it's taking so much of money away out of exploration, in field work, in geophysics, in geology, in drilling, and so forth, metallurgical studies, and putting it in the hands of bureaucrats. And that is something that, let's hope somehow we can see someone change that and turn that graph around. So the effect is, if we look at the announcements, drilling announcements that we summarise and look at on AusTech's reports over the years since we started in 2017, We over 2017 and 2020, we were looking at something like 1,000 drilling results. This is actual results where intersections are quoted a year. That rose up markedly in the COVID years, but since 2022, it's steadily dropped away to where in 2024 it was about 1,300 drilling announcements with intersections. So that also shows us that we are seeing less actual drilling, less drilling results. Proudly, I can say that AusTech, since over the last 7 years, have looked at 75,000 ASX resource summaries. So we have quite a database. A guide on inflation in the resources sector is to look at all of the internal, all-included sustainable costs of gold production, because we have a lot of gold producers on the ASX. Well, these are the gold producers. I won't bore you with the details here, but if we come over to this quarter, they're producing 68,000 ounces on average. But if we look at this figure here, it's now costing on the average producer $2,300 Australian to produce an ounce of gold. That is a rise over 12 months of 6.5%. That's what we take to be the inflation in the exploration in the resources sector. Whoops. How did IPOs go? You might want to start up, and you might want to be like Tony and start up a new company this year. Should you look at an IPO? Well, this was the result of the IPOs last year. It is a slide that was presented in Noosa, so it only goes to the 8th of November. We did have some winners in silver, uranium, gold and copper, but we had a lot of losers. So, you know, we had some companies in rare earths and coppers that went down close to 50% under what their IPO price was. Not necessarily a good idea to do an IPO. The other alternative is to look at zombie companies. We have a lot of them on the ASX. I haven't updated this one, but this is one I did for Noosa. There's a whole stack of them, and I picked here 13 of them, 16 of them. I didn't want to insult them by putting their name there, so I called them 1 to 16. You know, they're in copper, they're in oil and gas, they're in uranium, they're in gold, they're all over the place. Look at the cash positions. That's in millions of dollars. The best of these have got $9,000 in the bank. And some of them got some massive debts, like number 18. It's got $225 million worth of debt. And what are they spending on exploration? Very, very little. The best of them was spending $77,000 over the year. And their staff costs, some of them had quite big staff costs, but a lot of them all had big administration costs. And that's the problem of running an ASX listed company. Your admin is high, so you have to be doing something with it. You have to get into a project that the market will support. It's tough. It's not easy. None of them had capital raisings. Some of them repaid a bit of debt, and all of them had cash burns, except this one here managed to get $13,000 together. Those companies are available. We reckon there's about 100 of them at any one time. They need new management, whether they think they do or not. A lot of them don't think they do, but they bloody well do. And they need a damn good shake-up. And that's what we'd like to see people get into, that have got good projects and do something with them. So it's important, if we look now and go from the point of move over from the company side to the investor's side. What's the investor looking for? Well, the first thing I say to investors is make sure the company's got bloody cash. Otherwise, they can't do anything. So the average cash held in uranium companies, a lot was raised, but geez, it's all been bloody spent now. There's not a lot of them now. So uranium companies don't have a lot, even though they were given a lot. Gold companies are pretty well off. Graphite companies are... Graphite! Now, there's a commodity. The reason they got a lot is they've all been knocking on gutty government doors and getting money. There's a mob in Adelaide, they've got over 100 million in the bank, and most of it's come out of Canberra. There's a mob that have a graphite mine in Mozambique, and they built a graphite anode plant in Louisiana. They can't sell anything. They've got an offtake with Tesla. Tesla won't take it because they can get cheaper artificial graphite out of China, despite the owner of Tesla being a great mate of the current president, who's tried to bring in restrictions on all this. Tesla are still using synthetic graphite out of China and won't use the offtake from the plant built by an ASX company in Louisiana. And such a damn pity. And I keep saying in our report, don't federal government, I mean, Geoscience Australia is a bloody good client of ours. Don't give any more money, whether it's a state government or federal government, graphite projects, because there's no damn market. But anyway, that's why they've got a lot of money. Oil and gas, hey, we can't do without it. I mean, the greenies have been trying to tell us for a while we can. We cannot, because there's not one greenie in this world that will give up one of the things that they use. I know. I live in the seat of Ryan, and I see what our member does. And she won't give up anything. Nickel, there's some good prices there, but nickel, of course, has been overtaken, unfortunately, by cheap Chinese money into Sulawesi and making nickel pig iron, cheap nickel pig. That's why when you go to Harvey Norman or something and you buy a piece of furniture with stainless steel and you take it home, it rusts next week. That's what we're getting at nickel now. They don't produce a good nickel stainless steel anymore, unfortunately. Lithium, God, we've got to produce a better battery than lithium. Heavy mineral sands have a lot of money, and that's because a lot of them marketing that have monazite and ilmenite and rutile and zircon are now calling themselves rare earth projects, and they're conning people into putting money in the fact that they've got some monazite. I remember the days when I was doing some consulting for Jennings on the other side of the border, and they were mining all down through, Cabarita Gardens and all those new estates down there. The monazite was just put back on the ground. It's under the houses now. And it's a rare earth. There's a rare earth asset south of the border in New South Wales, and I think on the Gold Coast too. Coal, how has that been knocked around and damaged and knocked around by people that don't know anything about either the coal mining or certainly didn't attend any, as I did, Professor Carey's lectures in geology one down in Tasmania on what causes temperatures to go up and down. Vanadium, it's got some money in there. It's an interesting situation. We've got a lot of vanadium here in Queensland. It's in sedimentary deposits, and you can make a 1% concentrate or something else. The question is then, what do you do with it? It has to be put into vanadium pentoxide, and that again is not easy. So that's what I actually wanted to come to now, is the fact that different commodities have different annual uses. For example, petroleum absolutely dominates. So the whole petroleum market is worth something like $2,300 billion US a year. Coal is second, iron ore, then gold in value, copper. These are all minerals that we've had for a long time and we can do things with. Down here we come to sort of things like graphite, vanadium, we can't even see it there, lithium, and there's not a big demand. And China's moved in and got control of the projects, and that's where it's hard to get in. So let's run through if you were getting into a company, what you should be looking for. Firstly, gold and simple's easy. These are the gold silver explorers in Queensland. It is a little bit dated because I did it for a talk too. I think it was back in November. But Evolution stands out, and there's a couple other producers there. But it's up along the coast and into the Cloncurry area. There's some good potential for gold. It's so simple. The metallurgy is understood. You can sell doré. You can now sell a concentrate, and there's virtually no marketing. You can ring. I remember starting a little gold project, and you ring up the Perth Mint and say the bullion's on the way, and righto, then you get the London gold price. Smaller deposits can be brought into production, especially in WA, with a lot of toll treatment and ore purchase agreements. We're seeing overnight two little Western Australian companies, one looking to merge with the other, and they don't have a big resource, but they can make it work, and that's what's simple at the moment. LME metals are pretty good as well, things like iron ore, copper, bauxite, lead, zinc. I've got nickel in there. That's a little bit hard at the moment. Tin and tungsten, because there's, again, a regulated market, and we've got some good players here in Queensland. I mean, Metro up in bauxite have been going gangbusters. AIM producing copper concurry, and EQR, tungsten and Mount Carbide, going extremely well. And then a lot of copper explorers, but they're mainly in the Mount Isa area. Unfortunately, not a lot of activity in copper outside, or other minerals outside of the Mount Isa area. But that is the area where we can make things work. Moving on now to the energy minerals. These guys have been belted by the bloody politics, political barriers to overcome, in addition to environmental, social licenses, but mankind can't live without them. But people are concerned about the gas price, and we've got something like Boggabilla in New South Wales, been sitting there for years and years and years. But what I like about the coal companies that are listed on the ASX in Queensland, they're all producers. They produce these things, all making money. Poor old Laramide here is exploring for uranium, and crazy state governments have still banned the exploration or the mining of uranium. Shouldn't be happening these days. In the gas side, a lot of good companies there. People like Beach. People have been talking about the potential for Beach and what it might be able to do in the gas market given the shortages. QBM, how smart were they? They were going to build a nickel plant in Townsville, bring over laterite ore from New Caledonia, and I think Smiley Miles gave them some money for that. By that stage, they'd buggered off up to Moranbah, bought the Moranbah gas plant, and they're laughing. They're now supplying. They've got the Moranbah operation. They've got the Townsville, or they've got rights to produce power at the Townsville power station, and they're doing what smart gas companies are doing, and selling what's called peaking gas into the electricity market when the price is high. It's what you can do with gas, and those guys do it better than anyone. Gas, then there's some other little companies that are trying to get little gas projects off the ground here, but it's good to see. Now we get on this technology minerals and bulk commodities. Wow, these are tough. Look, demand for the spodumene deposits in Western Australia and brine projects in Argentina, and there's several small Western Australian producers. Just the other day, poor old IGO, they're trying to get this lithium hydroxide plant going at Kawana in WA. They've got train number 1 going. It's at 36% of nameplate after 2 years, and they've decided not to proceed with train number 2. Bang. If we're really going to make this government policy of things like critical minerals and so forth work in this country, we can't see that happen, because all of a sudden, all the little Western Australian producers that want to make a spodumene concentrate have to go back to China. That's all that's happening. Government money's going into projects and the concentrate's going off to China. That's not what taxpayers' money should be spent on. Yet it's going on. Rare earths. Now that's today a company announced the biggest rare earth in clay hosted rare earth project that I think I've seen over in WA, and it's massive, billions of tonnes, and there's a lot of them around. We've got one in North Queensland outside of Townsville. A company there got a little RDM. Got a small little deposit there. Easy to find in the clay, easy to produce a mixed rare earth concentrate. The problem is, what do you do then? What do you do then? The only company going beyond that and actually getting it down into the actual individual rare earth components is Lynas. to their plant in Kalgoorlie that's making the MREC there and sending it off to their plant in Malaysia where they're splitting it into different rare earths. What do you do then with your concentrate? You sell it to China. Again, what happens to this critical mineral? It doesn't work the way it's going. Graphite, I already talked about that. And vanadium, the same thing. Unless we can find someone with deep pockets to build a vanadium pentoxide plant in Townsville, what value is the Queensland vanadium projects? And that is the problem. Then there's the bulk products. These are specialist areas, and the little CMX's little phosphate plant up near Mount Isa is going very well. They're doing very well, but it's a small, unique market. It's all about the marketing. It's not about something. None of that excites the stock market. So that's a sort of little bit of a rundown of what's happening in Queensland. Now, if you're looking at it from the investment side of things, to help out people that are looking at that sort of thing, in our reports in each day, we divide the summaries that we do on all the projects that come out into different sections from A to G, or if you like, we start at G moving up the train. In section G, this is where you acquire a project, you start doing some drill targeting, you might do some geochemistry and geophysics, a historical review. Market's not really interested. Someone picks up a rock chip, you get a bit of a sugar hit for a few days, but you know what it is, you pick up a rock chip anyway, and it goes away. We get some drilling, we move towards drilling. That can get some excitement going if you promote it the right way, or you over promote it. But this is the excitement zone. When the drilling results are coming out, we saw one the other day that I was pleased to see because it's run by a geologist that does all the right things, AIG-GSAQ-ALS in Peru with a copper discovery. And they look like they could be onto something worthwhile there. So as we see the regular reporting of companies like that, we'll see the share price move up through the excitement zone. Then this is the challenging zone. I used to call it the disappointment zone, but some of the companies went crook at me for that because they were in that zone. This is a challenging zone. This is where this gets into section C of our report. Project development, preparation, metallurgical testings, feasibility studies, environmental, social acceptances, offtake, and da-da-da. And if you're trying to get the new acting coal mine going up in Toowoomba, you might be there for 15 years. So it is a challenging zone. It very rarely is a quick fix through here, It's taking longer and longer, and the market gets bored. People move on. They're looking for another drilling result. And if you can get through that with, dealing with construction delays, overruns, commissioning issues, and can make the project work at and reach nameplate and get revenues that are greater in cost, then of course, again, you get another rise that will attract shareholders into it. So that's the way we split it up to make it for easy, because we're all sorts of people. We've got producers, we've got drillers looking for a drilling contract. We've got geologists and geophysicists looking for some work. We've got tenement consultants, we've got investment funds, broking houses, and we've got the section of all the major world mining companies that are looking for the next thing. So they'll see it on Austex well before they'll see it on Mining News or out in hot copper. If you are investing in the market, one of the things to look at is the fact that if you look at the first and second quartile in the last year, you'll see that that has done so much better than the third or fourth quartile over 12 months. So that's companies with a market cap greater than 62 million are up 41%, 16 to 62, 22%, and then under 16 million, they've gone down. So you can see that it's important to make sure that these companies that reach those sort of market caps have got something to offer the market. And if we look at over Christmas, while it's quiet, we did the countdown top 100, like the old hits parades, and of companies as they go, how they how they succeeded in 2025, and these were the biggest over the time in gains. And over the 12 months there, you know, you got ESR that have gone and picked up a rock with some manganese in it in Timor-Leste. Good luck if they can get anything further than that. CAY, who are, there are some Chinese there that are dealing with the Cameroon government to get their bauxite thing going. But there are some great stories in there. The way CSLY catalysts have turned the plutonic area around. OBM have turned Davyhurst around, and BS8 is getting stuck back into Paulson's mine. POL, who, if you are coming along to the AUSTEX and AMEC lunch on the 5th of March, they will be presenting. They're up 150% and have just been successfully raised all the money they need now to go into production. So if we look at those ones that I've got in blue, where they have gone up nicely over the 12 months, over the last month, they have continued to rise. And you can see where their market caps are. The lowest of them, $47 million. Now, some of the others that rose up are still rising. But if you look over here, these ones went up a lot in 2024, but in the last month, you know, companies like OAEC promoting antimony rock, while it went up 109% last year, it's down 30% since then. And there's a lot of them there that have just really, unfortunately, not been able to deliver. So that's it. While we've listed the factors to take into consideration, resources are an ever-moving, complex market where there's no answer. So I want to join the 100 resource professionals that wake up to AUSTEX every day. Thank you. I didn't go too long.
Someone's got to have a question. Look, we'll go here and there.
I'm getting hard of hearing. I've got a tomato.
Okay, it was a great talk. Just right at the beginning, you talked about the copper companies that were going down, and the copper price was going down. What do you think?
I know, copper's always like that, isn't it? Anyone got any ideas? Just like that. It's just a lot of copper. I suppose it's the grade. I think, you know, a lot of the big copper producers now, the grade is coming way down, and a lot of the discoveries and the copper being found is, you know, down around 0.3, 0.4, 0.2%. And I think that may relate to that, as the fact that we're not finding big copper deposits, or high grade copper deposits. Yeah, I think that's probably the reason. But it's a pity, because copper's, you know, we can't live without copper.
I make a statement. I think there's another side to copper.
Yep.
So copper is telling us that the EV market isn't going to work.
No, it's not, no.
And that meant that the copper that everyone was projecting would go forward.
Yeah. That's those sort of things,
Yeah.
I'm meant to be wearing hearing aids, my doctor tells me, because I'll come up.
Thanks, Robbie.
Information. With regards to, you sort of stole my copper question, which was, you know, that when you look at the graphs of what the copper demand should be with the EV markets and everything, the story is that the copper should be shooting through the roof. So I second that question. I go, I don't know. It makes no sense to me, other than perhaps that the discoveries haven't been there, and therefore the
grade hasn't been there in the discovery.
Yeah. So that was one question. And I wholeheartedly thank you for your discussion around the fact that, you know, Australia and its proponents to reward companies for exploring for minerals and selling them offshore without upgrading them is a real problem for Australia that we need to address at the highest levels.
Absolutely.
And I can't understand why that's not understood. Obviously, wages in Australia is a major issue, but it's something that Australia has to address if they're going to move up and onwards and not be just a supplier of raw materials. So the only question I really have for you is in relation to the rare earth market that we see and the announcements that we see relating to rare earths, especially in the clay markets that are there. What are the hindrances for the companies to get these things up and running? Because clearly, from a mineability point of view, they're dead easy. They're shallow. They're higher grade than what China is doing. But how are we going to export that material or produce it at a benefit and then hopefully upgrade it? What do we have to do to make that happen?
We need more, Lynas Kalgoorlie plants, and Lynas is saying they're not. According to a talk I heard, haven't got any capacity to take any third-party material. I mean, the other alternatives to try and get Iluka working, that they're planted Eneabba. They're knocking on Albo's door for money. It's tough. Getting at rare earth, splitting rare earths out of monazite is much harder than it is out of the other rare earth minerals. So it's a tough thing for them. A lot of money's gone into Nolans in Alice Springs. Another 30-odd million government money. It's still not in production. Hastings, the same thing. Northern Minerals. We're just not getting these projects. They just need big money, and the money's just not there for them. The investors not there.
One last question, which is, with your data, which has not been shown on the presentation today, you talked a lot about reports with drill results. I'd be interested to see what the percentage increase in announcements not related to resources or drilling has that gone proportionally higher?
Yes. Yeah, particularly what we call Section G. Now, Section G is announcements relating to geology, geophysics, or anything like that. That has gone way up because last year companies were getting short of money. So what would they do to try and get a little bit of traction? They would come out with a bit of spin, like we picked up another rock chip. And if they picked up a high-grade rock chip, up go their share price if you promoted it the right way. Now, as any one of you knows, if you go out and look at let's say a copper or a gold project and you hunt around for, with a bit of old workings, you'll find a bit of high-grade stuff you could put in, and that's what's been going on. Another rock chip. The share price goes down 3 weeks later, by the way.
You say that 100 of them eventually happens to those zombie companies.
They seem to, raise another 500,000 or 200,000, occasionally $1 million, and they keep going. Yeah, very few of them go under for lack of money. They find a way. Eventually, they'll find someone who will take them over to put a new deal in. There is a couple of groups in Western Australia that do it very successfully, and they've put good projects into shells, and then they're making them work. And that's the best thing that can happen to those companies. But a lot of people that manage those companies don't want to give them over, won't give over management. They think they can do it, but they don't have the skills, they don't have the connections. And I say, if you can get into a group that has that ability to bring in the people, to bring in the projects, and to bring in the money, then shareholders are far better off.
Rob, I think it was slide number 11 or somewhere there. You were showing that there was $400 to $600 million available at any point in time.
Every quarter.
Yeah, every quarter. The question I have is, how many companies now are in the exploration sector?
Well, there'd be around 750 that put in Appendix 5B reports. Let's take out the producers. There might be 20 or 30, 40 of those. So somewhere around 700.
Okay, obviously, 400 to 600,000 over 600 companies is
Not a lot.
not a lot of money.
How to get in and get it.
Be one of those annoying people that makes a comment instead of question, but I can phrase it as a question as you like, if you like.
That's right. Make a comment.
But I challenge the commentary around the government not do anything about valuating onshore. Last night, the federal government passed the Future Made in Australia legislation, which included the production tax, critical minerals production tax incentive, which will encourage companies who are producing minerals in Australia to value add onshore in Australia. And that's something that AMEC's been championing over the last 18 months, and we're really proud of it. And let's just wait and see what happens. We need to work through stuff with Treasury, but the legislation's passed. We're trying to get stuff done to value add here.
The problem is with a lot of those minerals is that the capital costs to get them, for downstream processing, it'd be great to see, is massive. And a lot of them are small companies.
So the credit, the capital expenditure.
Yeah. Look, I hope it works. It's just we haven't seen it work today. Yeah. Well, I thought we had given it a crack. We need more of a crack. And if no one better to do it than Kate and AMEC. Yeah.
A question for you in regards to the change in sentiment around uranium,
Yes.
and the nuclear debate. Do you see that altering? You had some pretty low figures there on the uranium sector. What do you see it doing in the near future?
I think it'll should be good for Australian uranium because as you know, it's banned. Mining of it's banned everywhere except South Australia, I think. South Australia, yeah. So I think South Australia is the only place where mining of uranium is allowed at the moment. There are deposits in Western Australia, deposits in Northern Territory. It's banned in Queensland where there's, Westmoreland and that area up around Isla. But look, I hope it's good for it. But because we will see it. I mean, eventually we're going to have to go to nuclear power.
On that note, I read something just recently that with BHP wanting to massively expand Roxby Downs, they were not allowed to double the uranium. So there is a sentiment there against it.
Yeah, that's what we've got to get rid of.
Be careful of that.
Yeah.
But from the hill of where we are at Cobalt and Broken Hill, I can see Honeymoon uranium mine working, so it's good to experience it.
I'm glad to see it is too, because I did the original geophysics at Honeymoon. Mapped the channel years and years ago. So I'm glad to see it going.
Yeah, good day, Rob. Thanks for your talk. Thank you, Paul. I was just wondering if you could comment a bit about Queensland specifically and the industry here. Perhaps not so much on the coal and oil and gas, but more on the metals and any green shoots or bright sparks that you're seeing in the Queensland side of things around exploration.
As far as regulation go, no one better to talk to than Kate, but because I don't get involved in that. But for prospectivity, copper in Mount Isa, and down, it'd be lovely to see someone. There's a few people exploring, but lovely to see someone hit another big, copper gold porphyry down the east coastal ranges. Like a Mount Morgan or a Mount Lation or Charters Towers or something like that. It'd be lovely to see someone get one, but we're not seeing a huge amount. We're seeing a little bit of exploration. Probably Sunshine Gold up at Townsville will be doing the best work on that.
Working.
Yeah, good. One thing about Simon, he'd always be working on the best projects.
Alma Metals in Canterbury's getting bigger.
Sorry?
Alma Metals or Canterbury projects.
Yeah. That's one of them. Yeah, that's a good project. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, and there's also Mount Canada is improving also all the time. Yeah, so, if we can get some of those up, it'd be great to see. But that's where the potential for gold is and copper is more down the east coast and around the Mount Isa belt and, up around maybe something more around Chillago, Mareeba area. Yeah, north up there. Maybe the Pac Gold can come up with something. Be lovely to see, wouldn't it? Yeah. But it's not Western Australia, unfortunately.
Given the recent announcement by the Trump administration that they will be imposing tariffs on aluminium and steel imports into the US, would you still advise someone to invest in these minerals? And what are the best minerals you advise them to invest in?
I think the best comment I've heard about Trump, it came from Stephen Harper, a former Canadian Prime Minister. He said, I don't like always what Trump says, but my God, I like what he does. And I think what Trump says, you got to remember, Trump is a deal maker, and he'll set something out there. Like he's putting the idea of these tariffs because he's wanting to get a better deal for the US all the time. He's talking about taking over Gaza because he wants to get a better deal for the Middle East. So he's a deal maker. That's all he is. I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't get too excited about what he says. It's what he does that matters.
Final question from Nick. How do you predict the energy transition, climate change, will impact on the market going forward?
Mate, I don't know whether Nick did any geology, but if you do Geology 101, you're taught about what changes the temperature of the Earth. And there's about 30 different ways of which the temperature of the Earth is changed. And we are, yes, the climate has got, the temperatures have gone up and I like the way Professor Plimer puts this, it's gone up if you measure it from the start of the industrial age, but it's gone down if you take it from the mid-medieval warming. So I don't think we have to worry about climate change. I think it'll take care of itself.